Hello and welcome to Talk Good Game. It's just finished. Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1. Points shared between two sides in the Premier League opener. We're here to discuss the highlights. Gonzo, shall we skip to half-time? There was 45 minutes of football. Souček hit the post. Paqueta's header went close. Bournemouth had bits and bobs. We had bits and bobs. So what did you make of the first 45?
Well, I thought we were a better team for the first half an hour. There was some interesting battles there. We sort of invited Bournemouth onto us, certainly towards the end of that first half, to say the last 15 minutes. But there were some interesting battles. Solanke and Jarrod was a good one. Kirkaz was really interesting because he was forcing Bowen to, track back a bit and also, sort of go inside, sometimes searching for the ball and whatnot. It was interesting dynamic there as well between Emerson and Brooks. That was quite interesting as well to watch that one. But I thought by and large it was that our midfield was functioning really well in the first half. I thought the three in midfield were doing really well between them actually. So yeah, half time I was a little bit worried how we'd let them back into it, but I certainly thought we'd had enough quality in the game, to win the game basically.
I thought we started reasonably well, but the problem is I don't know if my sort of positivity was feeding off the back of I was expecting such little from West Ham that anything good and anything attacking I was going to grab with both hands. But I thought we started the game pretty well, looked pretty sharp. I thought the players were looking fit. There was a lot of energy about us. We were getting the ball. We were quite direct, which I was quite enjoying actually. Souček was getting in and around the box a lot, like we said. He hit the post as well. Those other opportunities, he was arriving in there, and I thought, well, this is good to see. I felt we were committing players forward in terms of numbers. Souček and Fornals were getting up alongside Antonio, and Ben Rama and Bowen were up there. So at times 5-6 players in attack, which was pleasing to see. But I agree with you. Towards the end of the half, we were dropping back a little bit. Bournemouth were getting into the game. But there was nothing from Bournemouth that concerned me. There was nothing from Bournemouth. Whoa. We need to be a little bit careful here. If anything, I thought the first half was relatively easy for us. But despite that, I still didn't think we blew them off the pitch. I thought we were maybe the slightly better team. But I thought we were fine. Good at best. Individually, I thought there were some good performances in the first 45, though. And I think this is what's the most frustrating thing, which we'll go on to discuss over the 90 minutes. Individually, I thought we were playing well. I thought the effort from each player was there, too. So there was a lot to be pleased about. But there was also a little bit that was just nagging me because, well, we'll get into the second half. But I thought we were playing fine, and that was it. But the opportunity to play better was there. And we didn't really take it. Now, before we do discuss the second half, if you're new to Hammer's Chat, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel and drop a like on the video if you're enjoying it so far. Your support will be much appreciated. Gonzo, we didn't have to wait long, though. 5-6 minutes into the second half, made it 1-0 through Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah, really, really good goal. And that sort of midfield functioning, I thought, well, they're really nice tackle. You had to anticipate that Fornals, that the guy was just going to... It wasn't even so much a mistake, but his touch was a little bit clumsy, the fella, and Fornals read it, did a sliding tackle, very good technique, not easy, and then he won it, and I thought Souček was really bright, actually, to move it on as quickly as he did. Nothing fantastic. That's not going to make pass of the season or anything like that, but it was an effective pass, and it was quick, and moved it on nice and quickly. And then Jarrod Bowen, well, if you thought... Erling Haaland's goal last night was good. This one was even better, but not dissimilar. But really curled it wonderfully well in there, and just had a beautiful shape to it. Beautiful goal, and I felt deserved as well. I thought we deservedly were 1-0 up at that point. I did start the half with, I think they hit the bar. It was Brooks hit the bar at the start of the half, but aside from that, I thought. We were sort of in control at that point, actually. So, yeah, I thought it was a well-deserved goal. And as I mentioned, the midfield three, include Paqueta and the two I've already mentioned, were all sort of doing well because we were worried about that. What was the composition of the midfield going to be? How was it going to operate? So, at that point, silly old me, I thought, when we're going to get the second one, do you know what I mean?
Do you know the worst thing? I mean, I could only say this, whether you believe me or not is up to you. But when we scored, I thought, there's 40 minutes of us defending coming now because just what I expect from us. But in terms of the actual goals, it was almost a bit of a team goal without many passes happening, if that makes sense. I thought the build up to us losing possession was relatively well. And Fornals was fantastically well won back. For Bowen to have the effort, superb goal. I think it's more comparable to Saka's earlier than Haaland's last night, but superb strike from Jarrod Bowen there. And it was pleasing to see, and because, like you said, we needed a bit of luck. There was no luck there, but we needed to go 1-0 up, because if we went 1-0 down, I thought, oh, forget it, we've lost this game. But 1-0 up, thought, right, let's see what happens here. And while you were hoping we were going to kick on and get a second one, I was fearing we were going to sit back and defend it a little bit. And I think my fear came true, and your hopes certainly did not.
In fact, they faded and died, my friend.
Very quickly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, it's a massive shame. I thought the guy, whatever his name is, what's the Bournemouth manager's name?
I don't know.
Is he Areola as well? He might be.
He's kind of like an Areola. It's like Arola.
A roller. It was a roller coaster. That's what it bloody was, because they brought on those two substitutes, one with a ponytail who miskicked it. He caused us all sorts of problems. He changed that full side. He done a double substitution there. Very proactive in what he did, and it worked. It caused us all manner of bother. And then when the guy with the ponytails had the shot, it's just it has taken a deflection. I think it deflected off of Souček, and Solanke read it, and Zuma didn't read what Solanke was doing and didn't read it at all. And then I think our Areola, not their manager, not a roller coaster Areola. I thought he tried as best as he could, but it was too much. And obviously Solanke did reasonably well. But yes, it was a deflection, but they read the deflection better than we did.
You make your own luck, though, don't you?
Of course you do, because we'd invited them onto us, and it was that was the worst part about that game. Was basically come, and you know what? Hey, look, it worked in the final against Fiorentina, but you don't need to do that again. That was not a good Bournemouth team.
No,
and actually, even though we didn't have our new signings in, we still had more than enough. Fornals was better than what they had. Souček was better than what they had. Paqueta was better. Bowen, we had enough there to win that game. We didn't have to sit back petrified like we were playing Real Madrid. And I think that's the thing. And at some point, a deflection is going to happen, isn't it? And that's, and just, as I say, Solanke was sharper than Zuma at that point. And Zuma had played well up to them, by the way. Just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game could have finished with 4-4 in the end. Rothwell hitting the bar from a short side of the box. Paqueta hitting the post as well. Danny Ings somehow had like a free header from 6 yards out and headed onto his knee or something. I'm not sure what he did there.
I think he was trying to head it back to Areola in goal, I think.
It was almost impressive what he did, actually. Oh. But listen, you make your own luck in football sometimes. And, Emerson doesn't give away. He sort of makes a bit of a half attack and half an interception. It goes to... how do you pronounce his name? Semenyo, the guy with the ponytail.
It was good.
But Emerson backs off. Aguerd doesn't close down. So basically, our whole defense is just going, shoot, just have a shot, mate. There's 5 yards for you. Go on, hit it. What are you going to do? And like you said, takes a deflection off Souček. Zuma's stood still. He's right next to Solanke. Zuma's remained static while Solanke gambles a little bit. I think he's probably going in for a rebound rather than a deflection hitting him. But Solanke's thought, if your way hit this, I'm going in case he spills it. Whereas our centre-back, unfortunately, is going, Areola's got this, don't worry about it. It doesn't reach Areola, falls to Solanke. It's a poor first touch. Actually, it goes away from him, and then he has to sort of run after it a little bit. But it turns out to be a good first touch because it takes Areola out of the game a little bit, because Areola's now stretched to his side rather than in front of him. Does well to go around the keeper, puts it in the back of the net, 1-1. But it just feels very, very self-inflicted, this. It feels unnecessary, because when we went 1-0 up, I thought we were going to sit back. I thought, well, this might suit us. Bournemouth are now going to have to come at us. When Bournemouth start making subs, here they go. They're going to go a bit more attacking. Hopefully this will play into our hands a little bit. But instead of us trying to take advantage of the space of them coming on to us, we just retreated and sat back, and we had nothing. We had nothing going forward at all. But it's not that we don't have the players. We do have the players. It's just that we didn't have the mentality. We didn't have the freedom to try and attack. And there was one thing in particular that annoyed me. I'll get onto in a second. But before we went live, Gonzo said, hey, I said something to Gonzo, and Gonzo said, you should use that in the video. So I'm going to. It felt like we are reviewing the 39th game of last season's Premier League. It's the same players, it's the same tactics, it's the same attitude. And it's the same faults, really, and it's a similar outcome. I know we thumped Bournemouth in this fixture last season, but generally speaking, this is the type of game that would usually play out under David Moyes last season. It's very, very familiar, and I know the new signings haven't come yet, and they're not in the team, but I don't. With us on the assumption we sign Maguire and Ward-Prowse, I don't think we're going to play any different to what we've played today. We're just going to have different players in the starting 11, pretty much. That's it. Might be slightly more dangerous at set pieces. It's just a continuation of what we've seen last season. Bournemouth were there for the taking. We went 1-0 up to a wonderful strike. And it very much feels 2 points dropped to me, Gonzo. But it feels like 2 points unnecessarily dropped, which is the worst thing. If we go 1-0 up against City and we draw 1-1, I'm happy. Yeah, okay, you could say it's 2 points. Yeah, but they've got that much talent, they're probably going to get it. That was not a good Bournemouth side. And while I thought we played okay when I went on at half-time with Charlie, said we're playing fine, good at best, and that's it. We're not playing great at that. A couple of people said it's been negative, but my counter-argument was, where do you think Bournemouth will finish this season? 15th, 14th, 13th, 12th if they have a good season? Well, that's who we're playing. We're playing a team that we expect to finish firmly in the bottom half of the table, and it was even. It was even, and I expect better from us. Not good today. A draw was probably a fair result in the end, but I'm not very happy about it. Just because I thought it was going to be a 1-1 game doesn't mean I was pleased it was a 1-1 game.
No, I don't really know what to say. It's underwhelming. It's underwhelming, and David Moyes needs to. I don't even blame the players for that. I think individually, some of the players were performing well. They did look fit. They did look sharp. They looked motivated as well. So I don't even call into question what was said in the dressing room before the game. They look, even the ones that seemed to want away, like Antonio and Paqueta, looked motivated. That wasn't an issue. It was the game plan. There wasn't individual stuff. And I know I said that about Zuma, but it was the game plan that cost us today. And David Moyes does need to have a look at himself, and he won't. Because that's what it cost. If we'd have stayed on that front foot, we would have probably beaten Bournemouth about 3-1 or something today. I do think that was going to be the case. And the substitution of Danny Ings is just weird. I almost, as much as anything, as much as the sitting back, I found that to be a surrender and an accepting of the result as much as anything else. It actually was. I wouldn't say it infuriated me. I was gutted. I was actually gutted.
It infuriated me. I'll happily say that. It infuriated me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was angry. I was gutted. I was deflated by it. And I think if you are someone like Lucas Paqueta, you're probably looking at thinking, with that, that's why I want to leave. Stuff like that is why I wouldn't. Obviously, I think anyone would go to Man City. Don't get me wrong, but wasn't an attacking move. He can't operate within a system. If you're going to put him on there, stick him up in a 2, do something else, and then the whole thing, the Cornet thing with 90 seconds to go, still long enough to get an offside, obviously. But
that was very impressive. But he was on the pitch for 30 seconds. He was offside, but we end up having to put Danny Ings into the number 10 role. You can see Cornet pointing at Ings saying, "You're in the number 10." You move back to it, and you can see Nolan. There's absolutely no way about it. 2 ways about it. Danny Ings finished the game as our creative midfielder.
Yeah, but what it was to do that so late as well, that was a C in the game. It wasn't even something to try and nick the game in the last minutes. And he's a hard, you try and give him I certainly do try and give Moyes every chance, Geo, and say, go on. But he's a hard man to defend sometimes, if for want of a better word,
Yeah. Before we go further, if you would like to support Hammers Chat, you can do by joining up to our Patreon. Our Patreon is our third channel, which is a subscription-based model. You give us a few quid from £3.60. In return, you get additional video content, including our popular player ratings series, which we'll be doing on Monday, going through each individual player that started the game for West Ham today, as well as David Moyes. Giving them a rating out of 10. It's more to provoke a discussion around each player performance. There's plenty more content other than just player ratings series, including our Patreon podcast. We've got a podcast now which has got nothing to do with football. So you want a break from West Ham football, we've got a podcast over there. We're basically just moaning about other stuff. We're very negative people, being Gonzo. Got the Anton Ferdinand podcast, and we've got Q&As with people of interest to West Ham fans. So if you fancy supporting the channel, you can do that by going to patreon.com/HammersChat or checking out the link in the description below. And of course, you get permanent online discount at our merchandise store, so you can get new designs such as this one. That's not a new one, but you can still get that one as well if you fancy. The substitution Gonzo pissed me right off, because That the only reason Danny Ings comes onto the pitch is because he's more senior than Mubama. That's it. There's no other reason. There's no reason. And I struggle to believe Moyes would really have to argue his case in front of me, and I still wouldn't believe him, that he believes Ings is a better fit than Mubama. No chance. That he believes Ings is more likely to impact the game positively than Mubama. Again, there's no evidence for that. He's been here 6 months. There's maybe 3 games, 4 games where Ings has come on and actually done something to change the game in favour of West Ham. It's not enough. And this is where if I was Mubama, I'd be like, I'm off. I can't. What's the point? What's the point of me being here? If I can't get on now, when am I going to get on? Because next weekend we play Chelsea. There's no way he's going to come on for that one. That sub was just a sub for the sake of it. I don't think Antonio was playing well. I think he was trying. I think he was working hard. I've got no questions about his effort today. But in terms of his ability, I don't think he had a good game. I thought our midfield was playing well. I thought Ben Rama was quiet, but I thought Fornals was playing well. I thought Bowen was playing well. I thought Souček and Paqueta were playing well. And if all that's happening, it should make it a bit easier for the striker. I think he needed to come off. But as soon as I saw Ings coming on, I thought that's just putting Ings on for the sake of it. And we had very little going forward at this point. We had even less once Danny Ings was on the pitch. And the fact is, that last sub, the Cornet one that we were joking about, I mean, how bad is it? We're taking the piss out of it. But he comes on for 2 minutes, he's offside. But we finished the game with Danny Ings playing in the number 10 role. Now he's only doing it for 2 minutes. But what's that about? That's not an admission of failure of your previous sub or a mission of failure transfer window thus far. I don't know what is. But that substitution really hurt me. I actually get Kera coming on for Fornals. I get it. Paqueta was looking a little bit tired. Put Kera on. Moved Paqueta up the pitch. But the problem is, while we did that, we moved 5 yards backwards as a team at the same time. And I thought Fornals was having a good game. I don't think Fornals deserved to come off. I thought he was pressing from the front. I didn't think Fornals was doing anything wrong, actually. But again, it felt like another sub for the sake of it. If Paqueta needs to be moved forward because he's tired, we'll take Kera off then and put a midfielder into midfield. Fornals didn't deserve to come off. But anyway, and individual performers, take your pick. Grab a couple of players.
Well, I thought Fornals did remarkably well, actually. I thought nice to see him play centrally. I thought he was really involved, really committed. It was nice to see. I think it's probably given Moyes another option there, which is, well, it's no surprise to anyone. It's just, it's taken a couple of 2-3 years, whatever, for it to happen. But I definitely want to see him there. Ben Rama wasn't good enough today, and that substitution needed to happen. He actually just should have taken Ben Rama off and put Cornet on earlier, 60 minutes, whatever, that was ridiculously late, even by David Moyes' standards, it has to be said. I feel a bit sorry for Areola to concede the goal. He was having a solid game, made a couple of sort of standard saves in there, was doing all right before that thing happened. And Antonio wasn't fit. But but that's I'm not criticising his effort. He did try, and he had moments during the game. The quick free kick was a bright point. He had a really good run down the wing and some other bits as well. But he was not fit, and it's painful going through this whole motion. It is Groundhog Day. We are now in a situation where we've got to go and find a striker again. And it's quite painful to watch. So yeah, those players I'm leave me man in the match for the moment.
Yeah, I agree with. We might have the same man of match then. I agree with your comments about Ben Ram. I thought he was under par today. I thought he started brightly for the first 20 minutes. He looked quite busy down that side, but he faded very, very quickly. As far as debuts go, I don't think Max Aarons, he'll be coming off thinking, thank God for that one. I was a bit nervous. I've only been here a couple of days, but I managed fine against Ben Rama. Not good enough from him. I thought Soufal had a good game at right back. I thought he got forward pretty well, looked really strong in the tackle. He looked up for it. I was pleased from what I've seen from himself, and I thought the centre-backs had a good game, bar, like you said, Zuma switching off with the Solanke goal. Or maybe not switching off, just didn't gamble like Solanke did. Solanke gambled. Zuma should be playing it safe, which is, I'm going to assume Areola is going to fumble this and get back in. He just thought his keeper would have it covered. And unfortunately for him, took a deflection and landed right at the feet of Solanke on another day. That never lands at the feet of Solanke. But he's at fault. As soon as that does land at his feet, Zuma's the one at fault. I think, but there's Bowen had great goal from Jarrod. Bowen played relatively well. There was enough good players out there. I thought Paqueta played well today. Frustrating at times still, but at times looks like the best player on the pitch, and he probably is the best player on the pitch in terms of just natural ability. But there you have it. Anyway, Gonzo, can I get your man of match, please?
Yeah, Thomas Souček, best dominant, actually outstanding in both boxes. I don't know what that's actually something that David Moyes did get right. David Moyes got it right. He didn't need to change it. Why change it? Whatever he did with that midfield, it was functioning. Something within the tactics were allowing Souček not just to defend and be outstanding defending in the box, but get forward into their box as well. And it nearly yielded a goal. And he was there for headers as well. Very early in the game, we attacked down the left. The cross went over and Souček was in the box during open play, not from a set piece. It happened on 3 occasions. He was in the box to receive headers should the cross come over. He was in the box when he hit the post as well. I actually thought in both boxes I thought he was completely dominant actually in the air, and I will hold back from saying back to his best, but I felt watching it, I felt there was a freedom to him. It was almost like he was liberated. It was really good to see, and I'm pleased for him as well. And so they just should have carried on. They were as a 3. They were working well, Geo. There was they were giving Bournemouth. Some of them they would go in, whatever it was they'd worked on. There was an understanding there. One of them sits and whatever. And we saw him. If Souček went and Paqueta would go back there, and sometimes Paqueta would drop wide, and then Fornals would come into the middle. Whatever it was, it had worked, and it was causing Bournemouth problems. So why you get suddenly say, right, do you know what, you 3, stop doing what you were doing and just put a little barrier in front of the back four? I've no idea. But Souček was my man of the match. Yeah,
Souček for me played to his strengths. If you were to ask any West Ham fan, what is Souček good at? What is the best things? We'll talk about his aerial ability, his tackling, his physique, the fact he can run for 90 minutes up and down the pitch and cover more ground than anyone else. And that is what we saw today. We saw a bit of the old Souček, where his weakness is one. He's only really got one weakness, and that is in possession. That's his one area of weakness. It wasn't an issue today, probably because we only have about 35% possession. So when we don't have the ball, we don't need Souček to hand the ball. But had we won the game, the tactics arguably would have been right, but we haven't. But that Souček wasn't the issue. I thought he had a really good game today. He was getting forward well, was defended really well, was covering Paqueta. Like you said, the discipline between the pair of them was fantastic. And I thought Paqueta had a good game too. And I thought Souček had a really good game. Thomas Souček, man of match. Never thought I'd be saying that, I'll be honest with you, Gonzo. But there you go, Thomas Souček, man of match. We shall leave it there. If you fancy grabbing anything from our online merch store, please go to hammerschatstore.com. We've got new merch in store, including this one. We've got some coasters such as these, celebrating the win in Prague. If you fancy support the channel, go to patreon.com/hammerschat. All the links you need are in the description. Just click under it and have a little look. But if you've enjoyed this review, please do drop a like on it. It's Geo Gonzo, myself and Gonzo. Well, for you patrons, we'll catch you on Monday.